dream, dream, river, dream, yeah. I am going home, home, I'm going. Mama, I'm go, I'm gonna mama go. I am going back, back home. I am never going back. River is my home, back and forth. Dreaming of the dream. Swim, stream, dream, river, dream, yeah, yeah. I am going home, home, I'm going. Mama, I'm gonna mama go. I am never going back. River is my home, back and forth.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we are with Anastasiia, with her unusual international brand. So, a few words from you, first of all. Introduce yourself to our audience.
Yes. I am Anastasiia from Ukraine. I've been living in Bulgaria for almost 6 years now, but I left Ukraine almost 11 years ago. I lived in Italy and then Belgium, and then I moved here. And yes, the unusual international brand, let's say, it is something that is basically just my life. Somehow, ever since I moved abroad, I started not only being part of the international community myself, just because I was a migrant, a foreigner, but also because I started collaborating with different communities in those countries that I lived in, that were full of internationals, or they were even specifically about being an international person abroad. So in Belgium, for example, I was part of the team that was organizing activities and events and promoting different information and collaborations with different partners to the international community. It was in Brussels, and Brussels, as we know, is an extremely cosmopolitan, yes, city. At least back in that time, it was the second most cosmopolitan city in the world. I'm not sure what statistics is now.
It would be after New York, I guess, or Paris.
Yeah, actually, the first one was Dubai, and that was very interesting. So maybe we can find that information.
Let's
there.
unpack all that, because the way I see it, you are in search of some kind of a personal branding, where you don't know, you define yourself in the journey, but you also help others to do that.
Yes.
In a very, let's say, foreign, you know, alien almost, like Sting's song, you know. I'm an alien. I mean, this was exactly what I felt when I left my country. So in a way, this also defines you as a community of people who are going through the same kind of alienation, not alienation, but being introduced to a new culture, right? And I guess you developed over time some useful, let's say, coping, some skills, so not survival, but adaptation skills. Or did you actually more stay who you were, and somehow your search for, let's say, finding a place for yourself somehow also coincides with your own personal journey as well?
Yeah, I think it's probably more the latter, meaning that there is the core of me, and there is also the person I become while living in different cultures. Even though it's very easy to lose yourself to the new environment, especially if we're coming from backgrounds and maybe cultures that really, it is a personal journey, but sometimes we are told that our nationality is not good enough, our passport is not strong enough, we speak with a horrible accent, and sometimes it's like, it's really a recurring joke, it's a meme about us,
We
about
live
our
in
culture.
Bulgaria. Why
Yeah.
don't you speak Bulgarian?
Yeah, or that, for example. So if you are, maybe your personality is a bit more like mine, which is try to adapt, but very often to my own detriment. I am a recovering, as I call it, people pleaser. So being adaptable is something that I had as a survival instinct, right? Something that is a mechanism, a coping mechanism, and then when you're in a different culture, and I was really new, I moved abroad alone when I was 21. So not only I was basically starting my adult life somewhere else, kind of very malleable as a personality myself, but also I was starting my career.
You even have such experiences within a country where one person moves from one city to another, and they can also be treated as a stranger. You know?
Absolutely.
Just because of the way they speak, even the way they look or they react, they can actually be easily considered as, you know, the Athenians would consider everybody a barbarian, right?
Exactly.
If you're not from Athens, you're basically a shepherd.
Yeah.
A peasant, whatever. The thing is, this kind of belonging is quite a challenge for many different groups of people. Let's think about it. I just refer to us as migrants, and I believe all humans are migrants, in one sense or another. And some people prefer immigrant. I've been told off recently that migrant is not a good word, and immigrant is a better word. Well, okay. You can identify as such. I don't have a problem, or technically maybe one or the other. But let's look at the way they may need support, because I think your product is to find exactly the kind of support that can be given. And I believe you were associated with quite a few initiatives to actually, because you met many people like yourself, right? So this is another skill, is to actually flock together and find your tribe, not tribe, more like a sheep. Like you find your, because you know, if you're herd, exactly. Maybe it's a better term, because
I like that.
Because tribe, I think, means something else, and maybe it's for hunting. But when you're hunted, right, in one way or another,
I see.
I don't think we are, but it's just that there aren't 50 shades of feeling alone, right? When you're feeling abroad, you're not in your waters, you're out of your waters. You always think, well, do I belong here? What am I doing here, right? So, do you have do you see a spectrum where it goes from even refugee, you know, with Syrians, we have a lot of them that had to move out of their country. Some of them stayed, some of them went away. There's even like asylum seekers who could actually even face persecution, you know, much more difficult, tough cases. There could be women running away from their family. This happens a lot. Ukraine situation right now. Do you see yourself in one of the specific groups, or for you they're all, let's say, in the same? Just being foreigner, is that enough?
To qualify.
No, I mean, where does it start? Where does it end? Just a question of where do you see yourself helping them?
Yes, the range that you're already given, and this is not the biggest range, it's not a full range, because there are migrants, as you said, there are also expats, and somehow expats are considered to be people from, let's call them first world countries, because technically that's what it is, that's how people use it. And it's very polarizing language. When we say migrants, then it automatically means people from third world countries, or non-EU or non-English speaking countries. And it's used and abused, and it's
East,
a very
west, north, south.
Exactly, it's very charged language. So that's why, let's say, the words that I've been choosing for this time frame now, working with foreigners, is internationals, because that encompasses not only all the foreigners, but also the people that are connected to us.
But this came to you recently. You didn't start from that, right? You start with other people's
Yeah.
definition of you,
Yes.
and then you develop your own definition.
And then you
of yourself.
learn, you learn a bit yourself, and then you learn, okay, migrant, that doesn't really put me in this box of a migrant, a person that is striving to...
Nobody says migrant, by the way, they say immigrant.
Mm.
Yeah, but usually this refers to like work related.
Yes, it's something is like you probably are not well educated, or you have very low level of education, and you're escaping some specific situation in your country. Actually, I learned that most of the migration, let's say just moving right abroad, is for economic reasons, most of it.
Yeah, I'm much more romantic. I think of birds because they keep moving, migrating birds.
Yeah.
Migrant birds.
So to answer your question, where I place myself on this scale, I'm not sure I want to, because my situation has changed. Me being from Ukraine really didn't change my core, but the way that my country and people from my country have been perceived has changed throughout these past years, and that was very interesting to see. I am very curious to see how the political situation will develop, because I've not been a person really invested in the politics, but it's so funny, but
you're waiting for the avalanche.
I have to, like, yes, because it really depends. My livelihood depends on it right now.
Yeah.
And the scale that we have, I don't think that it makes sense anymore, because yes, you might be from a country that's not European or not an English-speaking country. You have very often extremely valuable skills. You have extremely valuable education, and you speak many languages. You have a lot of personality skills. So working with foreigners, I've really seen how unfair the system is, because there are people coming from, let's say, more privileged countries with more privileged passports, and they don't have the same, I don't know if using the word value is the best word, but they don't weigh the same.
I worked in Dubai and actually for a Saudi media company, and what I noticed first day, almost the second day, was that everybody is paid differently according to their passport. If you're Pakistani, you're good for accounting. If you're Indian, you're good for driving. If you're Filipino, you have good for the medical sector. So everybody, and if you're American, basically you get the
boss head.
No, the consultant, the advisor. I think it also even places people not in terms of how much they are paid, but what they can do and what they cannot do. So, in a way, the skills, for example, all the restaurants, it's only Asians working, you know? I mean, like I said, the nurses, they were all from the same geography. This is for me, is a form of caste system.
Yeah.
So it's not just about, let's say, being a foreigner, but also it seems that the people are actually put on a certain spectrum. And to be honest, it's an extreme systematized form of slavery and racism that I think everybody accepts. And anyway, you know, but this is okay in the Gulf world, if that's the world that they define for themselves, you know. But if you are within Europe, for example, then you may wonder, okay, then now you also see that there are better refugees, better immigrants than, so some of them are better than the others. I mean, come on, this is being adding insult to the injury, if you see what I mean. So, did your choice of, let's say, job, if you have one, or did you have to be always entrepreneurial? I think this is also a very interesting point, is what can you do, right? All this time, did you actually, let's say, study something very specific, or did you have to adapt your way of, let's say, developing yourself to the environment?
I'd say both, because I moved to Italy, the very first country I was living in abroad, to study. And I was supposed to study communication, but then many different reasons, and one of them being I was disappointed with the level of education I was getting there. I don't know. I learned more in Ukraine learning the languages than I was in Italy, even though it was.
So your top skill is languages. How many do you speak?
I would. Well, that's a good question. I started 6 now, which is Bulgarian.
6.
Yes.
Finally, you came to Bulgaria.
Finally, after yes, and I actually, side note, I dream to speak at least 10. It's like
You want to? That's your ambition.
yes, that's my dream.
10 is
I
a,
really
is
love
a big
it.
number. Stop at 7.
It's a beautiful number. No, I would have a plan. I'm actually gonna. I don't think I'm gonna start. I'm only limited by time.
Tu parles français?
Oui.
On continue en français.
So, the the question, the profession.
The choices of professional choices, and whether you developed a service, whether you developed a product, did it follow your, let's say, predefined route, or did you have to actually make some adjustments?
No, it was absolute adjustments at every point, and still I'm adjusting, still I'm learning, still I'm going through, and I think I am actually getting closer to what I am as a human being, as a professional. My unfair advantages, if you know the concept I'm using what I am actually talented with, so I develop it more and I can have more of that unfair advantage, which is a term that means you just are good at something, or you have some resource, be it a network, be it money, often, right? But the thing is that you don't criticize yourself for that, you don't feel ashamed that you have this unfair advantage, use it. And that's what I want to use. I want to use my talent for languages.
So that's languages for you.
Languages, but also now it is this acquired skill, acquired knowledge and understanding of the needs of the foreigners. Because as I said, it's been 11 years that I am not only living this experience myself, but I'm also living it through other people's experiences, because I work with the community.
Let's talk about the other people, the
Yes.
people that you met. Because,
Yes.
okay, so basically you started with an unfair advantage, which not many others may have. Right?
That's true. Yes.
So you observe that you, as Anastasiia, compared to anybody else in your, let's say, foreign internationals, you can also see that there is a difference between their coping and your coping as well, right?
When I moved to Italy, I spoke the language already. I knew the country already. I knew the culture, and that made it so much easier for me. When I moved to Belgium, I did have to speed up my French learning because no one was happy to speak to me in English in the
I
the
did the
institutions.
same. Actually, I spoke less English in Belgium than
Yeah, and it's the specificity of the country. And then when I moved here, the level, let's say, I could afford a lawyer, I could afford someone to help me, and that's why I'm only now learning Bulgarian, and I could get by with my Ukrainian and my Russian. So yes, it was an unfair advantage to be able to
Just
to
curious,
study.
can you give me the order of your languages? I'm curious now.
So
So
yes,
Russian probably.
Russian first
So
because
Ukrainian, Russian.
yes.
And in your country, did you also speak many different languages? This also happens in Turkey, for example, or in Belgium. You have to speak 3 languages to start with.
So Ukrainian wasn't my first, it was the second, for 2 different reasons. The first was I am from the eastern part, and this is the language, the Russian language. It was, as I was growing up, it was the most developed in that area. Plus, I was born in 1903, so 91st was when the Soviet Union stopped, and the Ukrainian television.
So basically, you were born at the end of perestroika.
Yeah, like 2 years after, but my birth certificate, for example, is still the old.
So you came out of the
templates.
Russian, let's say, ecosphere, and then in primary school.
Yes, I started learning Ukrainian mainly through TV because a lot of things were starting to be in Ukrainian, from ads to series. We just started having new channels. You know, you have 5 to begin with, and they started adding new ones. And then, yes, I started in first grade Ukrainian. It was it was the same hours as Russian, but everything was taught in Russian. And I also started English right away, the first grade. I mean, of course.
From the primary school?
Yeah.
English in primary, that's very interesting.
Yes. I think it was, I don't know.
I always tell people, if you look for happiness, you have to look in such ages, you know? Do you actually think that maybe under those circumstances you found your maybe first international thinking, what's going on? I'm speaking 3 languages.
That's a very good question. I never thought about this.
You should. Maybe that's where happiness lies. Maybe you're going back to the beginning. You know?
The reason why I kind of knew I should move abroad was literally because my father was always telling that. And I think they were teaching us English as much as they could. Like I remember this very funny, super old, like yellow book. It was this like for babies, something like this is a table, this is a cup. I remember that was the very first encounter with English, and of course in school it was a bit more serious, but what can you do with kids? But I was always good. That's the thing. I really loved literature and languages.
But already in primary school, did you think that you could be an international person? I'm telling you this because when I was in secondary school, I had my karate teacher who was also security guard in KLM. And he was always coming back with the magazines, flight magazines, and he was giving them to me. And with those, I was making like collages, and you know, I was cutting like Rambo and films, etc. So a lot of things sometimes are somehow grafted from some other person. You know, there could be one person or two. Usually, it's one person that starts giving you something, and with that, you build a whole fantasy of the world.
For me, maybe it was a slightly different avenue. It was the books, like adventure books, like Jules Verne. You know, all these stories about exploring Patagonia, and
so you're an explorer.
That was my. I think this is where this is my first dream that came. The languages came after. The first dream is to see every country.
You see, this is what I like. So beyond, under the linguistic skills, there's an explorer spirit that was, as a child, I think, you know, you would remember this, because I remember spending at night reading books under the sheets with a candle, you know.
Wow.
It is dangerous. I mean, I could have just burned everything.
The whole house.
I remember in primary school, the second year, the teacher calls my mom and says, "Why are you giving this boy Marxist-Leninist propaganda?" This is 70s, you know, and I'm like,
wow.
7 years old. And she says, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about," because she was illiterate. Now she couldn't even read what that is. And she said, "But you know, this boy is collecting things from the garbage and just reads whatever he finds in the street." And I thought it was like, we call them Tomix Texas. These were, you know, these comic books, but there were like thousands of them, all like secondhand and trading. And basically reading those things, you really develop a very cinematic
visual,
reading. You don't actually read them like a book. You see it really visually. So maybe, I think the right now us trying to do things, you know, 30 years, 40 years later, maybe links back to how we started learning things about the world.
For sure.
So Jules Verne is your first.
Yeah, I would say this is. I still have to find something that was as captivating in terms of expanding the world for me. And you know, the story of the author is that he barely traveled himself. He was learning all about the world by books and other people's lives. And that's brilliant. So yes, I do want to see every country, and that's the first dream. The second dream then is the 10 languages at least. And then the
How
third
about
dream.
people? Because the community thing could also come from the fact that during that time you could be, maybe you met also other people. Were you in a kind of a community environment?
I'm not sure that specific environment was really about living abroad or any kind of international
Maybe you had
thinking.
some other students who were Italian?
Absolutely not.
So
no.
you had actually not met anyone foreigner?
No, absolutely nothing. It was quite close. I mean, my city is small and it's industrial. It's not really...
What city is this?
Mariupol. it's not really about. I mean, some people were coming, but mainly some experts to work in the factory.
It is a port.
It's a
right?
port city as well. There were, but it's
Ships.
not.
How about ships? Very interested in ships.
Yeah, I love the sea.
The
Yes.
boats.
The boats, the sea.
People coming off it, speaking different languages.
That didn't happen as much. It was.
You may not remember it, by the way. You know?
Well, actually, now that you say it, my grandma used to work in this kind of, I don't know how it's called, like ship company, and she was, funnily enough, a computer person. She was supposed to like deal with the computers, and I still have it. There's like a bunny that is 1 year older than me, so 32 years old now. It's disheveled. It's completely in pieces, but it's a very treasured memory. And she brought it from America. And also had like a little.
This is becoming very psychiatric. Now we are going deeper and deeper.
Two
Lay
pairs
down.
of shoes.
Lay down.
Also 2 pairs of shoes, like really cute little shoes, like sneakers.
But these little objects, foreign objects, can be like magic.
Could be, yeah. Maybe you're right.
Interesting.
I haven't thought about it, but my father was.
Were you sleeping with this toy?
Yeah, Bunny is the best friend.
So you...
I was talking to it. I was learning to speak. It was like how kids have the little.
So you had an American bunny.
Yeah, my first American friend.
So you didn't need any real foreigners.
Maybe it was my first. Actually,
next time you hug somebody, to think about it. Maybe it's a bunny that you're hugging. But these are very important because, in a way, in a child's world, one drop, one little book, one object could actually change their entire vision of even, because I think as a kid, we are not surrounded by so many things. So these things that we call toys are actually us learning, practicing. Almost. Some of them are brushing the hair. What were you doing with the bunny?
Oh, just sleeping, we were hugging, or again it was like just talking. My mom had the little diary of because I was the first kid, she had a bit more time, and she was writing the little diary about my life, and I loved reading it actually after. And I remember this little entry that she had, that she put the bunny up, and I was talking to it. I couldn't talk yet. I was already trying to talk to the bunny. Yeah. Maybe that's where the languages come from.
Can you imagine? You had a bunny of foreign languages, so today, imagine yourself today as a professional. How your dream of yourself, your vision of yourself at the time, like what did you actually have dreams like going somewhere because your parents were saying?
Yes.
Where did you want to go as a kid? Italy first, or
no? Italy actually popped up as a very random and interesting thing. Italy in my life is in general very random, let's say it like that. I wanted, again, everything is connected. So one of the things I wanted to mention when you're asking before someone, I don't even know who it was. Someone told me that because I couldn't pronounce the letter R, which is important, I could pronounce it like R. Someone told me, "Oh, you'd be so good at French," and I immediately was obsessed. Like, what is this? If I'm gonna be so good at it, I want to know.
Yeah.
And the university that I was thinking of going to, they didn't have French as the first language, but they had Italian, and they promised me the third language after English would be French. So I went. Yeah, actually, it wasn't French. It was Greek. I hated it because I really wanted French, but you see, life has its ways. I got to French eventually.
So you were counting your languages.
Yes.
Russian, Ukrainian, English,
Italian,
the three. And then immediately Italian.
Yes, Italian.
What age?
I entered the university at 17.
So you started with. So you went to Italy at 17.
No. It was in Ukraine. I got a diploma as a teacher of Italian, so philology mainly.
4. That's good.
And then French already I started in Italy, and then in Belgium.
I started learning English at 17 for the university first year. Even though in high school we had French, I believe when I went to Belgium, I realized that I actually learned absolutely nothing. I mean, I think maybe we should also give it to the quality of certain teachers. They can also shape your.
Absolutely.
Do you remember any of your teachers who would say, "Why don't you become a teacher like me"?
No.
Don't know.
I don't know. I have a very beautiful story, especially with Italian. I had 3 professors at different levels, and they were all doing kind of different aspects of the language. But all 3 of them were really happy. Well, at least 2 were really happy that I decided to move to Italy and build my life and like to do something with myself that would not be just learning
Do you think
how to be a professor.
around you were there people who were actually motivating you really good to go abroad?
Go abroad, not sure. Just motivating me to do my best and to work on my life. Let's say to make something out of me. I think people saw that potential in me, and I've been a really active child and a teenager. At the university, I was super active. I really consider everything that I was doing at university was like a job. I became an A student. I really didn't want to. It wasn't my aim. I wasn't at school, but I became, because again, languages, maybe it was the very right environment for me to really go there. So I got a diploma cum laude. Sometimes they pushed me. I really didn't want to, but it's very prestigious for the university. So okay. But then I was also doing a lot of students, if you know, like student council.
Yep.
And there was a lot of organizing things, organizing people, and
Yeah, I was in the magazine of the union.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Writing the.
Yeah.
I mean, I always wanted to be an editor of books.
Nice.
I should have. Probably it would have been better for me if I was in the publishing business. You know? I'm like a typo master. I can really find like theater. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just see the mistakes. I don't see the regular letters and words, but I see the mistakes. But I think this early times do have a very big impact on the way we get exceptionally good at let's say learning and developing those things, the skills that will become probably the foundation of your profession.
Yes.
I mean, you can't just say I learned languages. You actually became a professional of linguistic.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't really enjoy the profession part of it. I tried to be an interpreter,
things like
translator.
translation. These are very tough jobs. Yeah,
I don't
like
know.
serving at the bar.
Yeah.
You don't enjoy it. But
And I think my reason for learning the languages is actually be able to communicate with people. So actually the question you were asking about, what's the people? What about the people? This is where it comes full circle for me, because I'm even coming back to it now, even to that time of 16, 17, 18 years when I was super active at the university, doing a lot of things, organizing conferences, events, and activities for other people, with other people. This is where it's coming back to me right now with the Unusual International
So you were
Academy.
not just a bookworm, you were also very social.
Actually, I haven't read books properly in the past years. It comes and goes. I have them, I don't have the time. Can't call myself a bookworm anymore. That's a pity.
Well, at least you are not that alone, right? Sometimes loneliness can actually push people to text. I mean, reading is hardly it's quite a solitary activity, unfortunately. Even though I always wanted to start something like a book club. But in our age right now, it's very difficult to actually find time and give priority. So going back to now the languages.
Yeah.
And from Italian, you moved to
Belgium, so it was
French, which is very easy after Italian.
No, I couldn't say very easy. It was easier, but it wasn't very easy. Because still French is a particular
Italian
language.
is a bit short for everything.
Yeah.
They're a bit quicker. With French, you have to think a little bit more, I think.
Well, Italian is also not the easiest either, I don't even know if there are easy languages, but yeah, Italian.
It's simpler because it's much more singing. There aren't as many exceptions. I believe there's a certain quickness about it. While in French, you could actually add new things to what you're saying. Also, this is why I love French. I mean, it's one language where you can actually think of new words, new meaning, new forms. It's a very designing kind of language, you know. But the fact that it's let's say Latin, I think the three of them at least, they are very close to each other. It's Spanish.
Yeah.
I mean, I can read and understand half of Italian and Spanish very easily.
Yeah, for me, it's
even if I don't know what this is about, at least half of the words somehow are familiar. And how did that translate to these little jobs into where you are now in your, let's say? Because when I think of you, I think of someone who actually found a little bit your own personal kind of job rather than any other job that is available in the market.
For sure, because I think it's also me being guided somehow by the circumstances by life. Maybe I trust a lot and it helps. I got a lot of feedback already here in Bulgaria when I started sharing a bit more about my own personal migration journey, and I started putting it in words, how I feel and what I'm going through. And I got a lot of feedback from people in the same position. Some really touching things where people said I cried or almost cried, like listening to you saying something because I was recording some videos or reading your texts, and that was very powerful for me. Sometimes I still don't know how to shape it.
By the way, these sentiments are related to being a foreigner?
To being a foreigner, yes. So when I describe the loneliness,
is there sadness to it?
It's bittersweet. I think everyone that at least the ones that shared with me their opinion, it is bittersweet because on the one hand we are building something of our own, or for someone else as well. A lot of people are moving because they want to give back to the families or they want to provide for the new generations.
I call this be the support you need in the world.
Exactly. And then there is the other part, which is very hurt and sad, because as you move abroad, you're losing a part of yourself. You leave it at where you were. And whether you are happy about it or not, some people really have to move because of circumstances. Some people are like us, we took that decision. And maybe we had to make peace with certain things that we lost. I haven't seen my family in more than 3 years now because of the war. This is the most I've not seen them, and it's really hard. It's really sad especially when I see my friends who see their families every half a year.
But weren't there any other, let's say, migrants? Because in my case, for example, my parents already there for coming. Actually, I even asked them where did we come from, and it turns out that we are actually probably not even Turkish. Probably we came somewhere from Khorasan, from let's say Persia, you know, and not even being a Persian, but from another race, another religion, more Sufi. So basically, you may even find out that maybe your origins, your roots, are not even from where you were born, and it could even be before that people were just because there are a lot of people, I think, over generations hopping and jumping from east to west, from south to north, and vice versa, because I mean, I don't think people realize it's not like taking a trip. This is not for a holiday. You are actually moving everything. You know, you're really leaving everything behind and going somewhere else. This was the case with my parents. As soon as they got married, they got me, my sister, and then they decided to move to Istanbul. For them, from village to Istanbul is almost the same as from Mariupol to Brussels. You know, it's actually a very big and very difficult move. And I blame my father did that because he had to, because he couldn't live with his father who was a bit of a tyrant, you know. So sometimes, like you said, you have to move, but moving means over 3 generations. Finally, moving is normal. Also, I mean, in my case, it was very normal to actually hop, just go further away.
Yeah, your parents gave you already like a step that you didn't have to do yourself. They helped in that sense. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. A part of half of my family's history is not available because my grandmother was abandoned at the hospital when she was born, so she was adopted into a family, and yeah, we just don't know. But technically, Ukrainians don't look like me. They have darker skin. They have dark hair, dark eyes. I look much more like a Polish person or Czech person, and often I'm mistaken for them.
A bit of a red, maybe a bit of Celtic origins as well.
We don't know. I should take one of those DNA tests.
Actually, there was a funny program like that. People taking this and then they really get surprised because they discover that they have at least 50% of the genes of their people that they hate.
Yes.
This is why I really like to tease people about the komşu culture we have in all of Eastern Europe and this Mediterranean place where basically just look at the person, and I tell sometimes, you're Thracian and you're a bit Turkish, you're a bit let's say Asian. You can see these things because over time we are really carrying all these visual elements with us. But finally, I always put it on the table: nature, nurture, culture, future. So you should follow Jules Verne. Go to the moon, not stay in Mariupol or go to the nearest town. Don't go to where you could find a job, but what is my vision of the future? Because if it is, let's say, American dream, or maybe it's an Australian dream,
European dream.
So, where is your dream? Which country is it? Now you have to choose. Which one is your dream country?
Well, I'm super obsessed with Japan now.
Okay.
I think this is my next destination. I need to sort a few things here in Bulgaria, but then I'm gonna explore more, because it was actually a very interesting conversation I had with a Ukrainian person I met in Brussels. And because we're not from EU, you and I, and you know that it takes a little...
I have a Belgian passport.
Okay. It takes a little
you
more...
just have to get married.
I wasn't. And that didn't work. I lost my thought now.
Japan. You met somebody.
Yes. No.
In Belgium.
No. The thing is, yes, it's not easy. It's not that easy to move to, let's say, more progressive, more richer country. But once you do, at least it was for me, it's not... I thought I didn't have a lot of options. That was actually, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but the vision that I had, it was really like a big wall. No, I don't know where this metaphor is coming from.
That's a good one, the wall, yeah.
It's like a very big wall. You have to... I literally had that idea, that once you get it, and we even have this kind of slang phrase, it's called zabugrom. It's like after the big hill. That's how we call
hill.
Hill.
Okay.
That's how we call abroad, right? Like something that's literally. Well, it's a slang.
Is beyond the hill.
Yeah, like a big hill, like a big hill. So it requires some effort to get there. And it did happen for me, and it was the same for that other person. And we were just talking that how interesting it is that after you pass this big hill, you pass this big hurdle, the question is not how to move to another place, but where, because you suddenly learn that the world, is your oyster, and you can do a lot of things, and you learn again.
Sometimes the hills, we imagine them mountains, but they are just hills, basically.
Yeah, and you learn more about yourself. You get to know yourself, your expertise, or you grow it. You get to know more languages. You develop yourself, and
maybe
you realize
it's also the other way around. The first one is like a mountain, and once you that one is very difficult. But once you do that, then the next one becomes smaller and smaller.
Yes, for sure.
Even if they are higher.
Yeah, for sure. Your perception is different. I really don't see a lot of challenges right now. Some things could be more challenging, like moving to America. If one really wants to go there now, I see it as more challenging. But I don't see it impossible, or Japan or Singapore.
Well, just to begin with, I think you could just get a job with an American company, and they would do the paperwork, right?
You have to be a really good specialist. That's one thing. Actually, we were talking about entrepreneurial journey, and I was exploring this question for here in Bulgaria for a little project with Multiculti. And for many people, entrepreneurship is the only solution, especially they're coming from third countries, let's call them third world. Third countries, the ones that they don't have specific regulations or specific support, let's say.
IT is in general quite easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I know even a lot of Indians, for example, who go and live, but it doesn't mean that they actually obtain like green card or something. So it's temporary, for sure. Well, I'm not sure if it's that you don't need to go anywhere, right? It's not a primary driver. No. Sometimes it just happens also. But when you see the opportunity, somehow you must have the dream, because I also know so many people from my childhood who never go abroad. There was this lady, the first time I went to Coventry, she just kept complaining for the 6 months that the food was bad, the weather was bad, everything was bad. And finally you just wonder why is she even there, So she was just unhappy. Yeah. And I don't believe they are, let's say, equipped with the coping that requires, especially food. Yeah. Apparently food was a big problem. But to be honest, once you like you said, once you cross to a frontier, let's say, then you can actually choose, because maybe you can say, oh, I actually prefer to go there. Yeah. Maybe the first one you don't have the choice, but you can make the choice in the. So how many times did you move?
1, 2, 4 technically.
It's about, I think once you start doing it. And what brought you to Bulgaria?
It was, at that time, it was a very financially convenient place to be. Now a lot of things changed.
So somebody whispered that to you? How did you discover this?
Oh, it was very interesting. It was just life in Belgium was expensive, especially for a freelancer. Yeah. And the Belgian system, it's very funny in that way.
50% tax.
But also that you need to pay it for 3 years ago, and a lot of things can change in 3 years for a freelancer. That was devastating, let's say. And Bulgaria, just simple Google research, I saw that it was 10% tax.
So nobody told you, you actually discovered it yourself?
Yes.
Very interesting. Like 2 months ago, somebody calls me from France and says, oh, I want to come and live in Sofia doing my specialty, Salesforce. And he says, but I said, but do you know anybody? How did you come up with this decision to move, leave everything and move? Yeah. Exactly the same story as you. I did my research. I think this is the best place to go. But I said, first come over, have a look around, meet a few people just to see, do you like the weather? Do you like the people? Because you don't know what you're getting into. But sometimes I think maybe the young one, when you're young, there's also this adventure.
For sure. You don't have a lot to lose. You also don't have a lot in general.
But I'm not sure if Bulgaria would be my first choice, if it was my very first choice.
No, I don't think so. For me either, I don't know, but then our countries are quite close to Bulgaria, and a lot of refugees from Ukraine come here as well because of the language. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I also feel now that I want to explore the place. I want to go there, even Japan. I'm saying Japan, and I do a lot of. No, I haven't been. I do a lot of research, but I'm not gonna jump into something as bizarre.
I think it can be very foreign, actually.
Yes, I think it could be very alienating in all senses.
Also, those people are not open. Like,
No,
you know, they will not even maybe answer you sometimes.
And the language, you have to have it at a specific level to be able to get by. It's gonna be more challenging. And the thing is that I actually think I want to go there as a tourist, of course, but also if I want to move or I want to explore the region, to spend there at least a year to see all the seasons.
Aren't you maybe looking for higher walls? Maybe you're a climber after all.
My arms are not very strong for that. I think I'm not sure.
What's the obsession then? Where you got hooked?
I don't know.
I hope you're not trying to run away from something.
Oh no, that was my great grandfather. It was an adventurer of a wrong kind. There is a legend in my family that he did something to someone for money, and then he was running across the whole Soviet Republic. That's not the kind of traveler I want.
No, that's not traveling. That's running away.
Yeah.
But are you sure this is going to be Japan, or is just
no? I'm not sure at all.
Maybe it's like a fantasy.
It is. I don't know. Maybe I will not like it to live there. Maybe I will love it as a
Do you
place.
speak a few words?
No, I mean just basic like everyone. I haven't started yet because I'm at my.
Moshi.
I'm on my Bulgarian now. I'm focused. I am already mixing French with Bulgarian as my learning practice. So it's. I want to save my brain a bit.
So.
Yeah.
You said 7, no? No,
6.
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
with
6.
Bulgarian, it's not even.
So number 6 is Bulgarian.
It's Bulgarian, yeah.
I think in Turkish we say, one language, one human.
Mm-hmm.
Bir lisan, bir insan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because it rhymes. It's
Yes,
not.
yes.
What they mean is that learning one language is like becoming a new person.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Have you noticed that your voice changes a bit depending on the language you speak? Like the timbre, the volume, even the.
I am a very relational person.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically I learned it for family, and I learned it. So in a way, I would speak French either like I'm talking to family members
Mm-hmm.
or to children, but I wouldn't speak of it as a business or talking
Mm-hmm.
to, let's say, other people of my equals. So I would always use dear endearments and let's
Mm-hmm.
say, so for me, but then when I also used to dream and think in French because I was reading too much.
Mm-hmm.
So there's my speaking French and reading French, and they're totally different. Because I love Foucault and I love French philosophers.
Wow.
So I even have very technical knowledge of French that I cannot even share with my family because I wouldn't talk to them about how is it called? How is it? Kundera's book.
Oh yeah, the how's the name? The unbearable. That one.
Lightness of.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the even the authors that you know that Milan Kundera, there's his book, the first book, this one,
Mm-hmm.
Identity. He didn't let it to be translated from French to Czech because he didn't want people to read the translation of it. Because it's about identity, and he wrote it because this is from his French writing.
Yeah.
He moved to France, so he actually literally thought it's being a different author who wrote it, And if you translate back to Czech, it would not be fair, let's say. So he had some resistance. Now it's translated to all the languages finally. But I knew at the time he wrote it, some Czech people, they were complaining that they cannot read it in their language because he wrote it in French and they have to read it in French.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is the kind of thing that also happens, I think, with hegemony. Let's talk about that. Don't you, it's like if you go from, let's say, hot water to icy water, if you keep on changing water, right, like a fish, the environment is very demanding, and in a way they are always asking you to adapt to them, and they will never adapt to you, right?
Yeah.
So how much of that actually made you stronger or weaker, or what is this hegemony that you had to, I mean, did you become a more of a rebel? Did you become more of a adapter? Did you the people pleaser part?
Yes, I think it went in cycles like that. My first years abroad, and especially in Belgium, I think because it shaped me a bit more professionally. This is where I started my career, let's say, and also the language and just the demands. It was a demanding environment, and I only started feeling just getting to the same level, let's say, financially and professionally and as a person as I was about to leave. So the initial setup was me adapting as much as possible. Even my name, I was trying to make it sound as easy to pronounce as possible. Drop one I, or Anna as well. They started calling me Anna in Italy because that's just how they do it. People from South.
It's easier. Yeah.
It's just easier. They just Anastasiia, 9 letters. Anna is 3. It's okay.
I'm so specific. I would like to say it exactly.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult.
Now I started doing that, but it really had to, it had to come full circle for me because I did lose a bit of myself in all this story. When I started therapy a few years back, and my therapist was just asking, like, how do they call you? Because there's Nastya, right? It's like it's short name for Anastasiia. Nastya. Or she would call me Anastasiia, and she was just curious how they call me in all these different setups, and I said Anna. I was like, oh, Anna. But the funny thing is that a lot of people started calling me Anna with 2 N, and this is a completely different name. So I started having a bit of like, well, that's not my name. It's not me. I don't identify with it.
But that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's basically, it is other people who actually somehow push you to your knees to say, okay, I accept that.
Yes.
And actually you shouldn't.
No, you shouldn't. And I felt, again, with all the baggage of thinking, well, I'm from the country that no one really cares about, and I am the person no one really cares about. Maybe I should try myself, try to be someone else, like, the people in call centers, they have all these westernized names because their actual names are not accepted. They are like, what is that?
Yeah, today I couldn't find somebody from our new team because Pavlo apparently goes to LinkedIn as Paul.
You see? And that's very classic.
It's sad, but it's a bit difficult to also write Andri, 2 I and Y.
I know.
I thought I got used to Bulgarians, just I and Y, and now I see E.
Well, you know why? So why there are 2 I's in Anastasiia? Because Ya, like Bulgarian Ya, is transliterated as I-A, not Y, like you have in Russian, Natalia, for example.
I understand, but I'm Turkish, and in our linguistic, it's phonetic. So for us, for us, every sound is one letter, and you read as you write, and you write as you read. So for me, it takes a mental.
Well, French was a
calculator.
A challenge for you then.
What do you mean?
Well, French has a lot of
it
letters
was a challenge.
Yes.
Well, I think it's a matter of no, it's not really a challenge. It's just that I need to know the formula. For me, it's a matter of calculating. So but when you see it for the first time, you have to like think differently. You say this is not the formula has changed.
Yeah.
There's a new formula.
Yeah.
Same thing but different. I think this is what also I professionally also do this. We actually try to do the same thing for different solutions. So by métier, I'm always doing customization. So for me, customization is not an issue. It's just that you need to do a mental change, tweak. Otherwise, it doesn't match. I mean, the first time I was here, I think I would just pick up Turkish words, and they were, because they use like very little things like ami, like we say ama, but, and they say ami, ama. I said, okay. I just find the clicks, the similar things, but the real thing that once you start learning enough, then you see that alphabetically speaking, P looks like an N looks like an M looks like a T, and T looks like a R, and R looks like a P. I began to think that it was just carambolage. It's like they did it on purpose, so that nobody can understand it or something, So I just started to develop a kind of a humor around it, that I actually want to write a story called Bulgarians, and people who never want to be understood, so they just mix up they encrypt everything so that every conversation is encrypted, well, it can be a useful thing when the aliens attack us, Everybody speaks Bulgarian and the aliens don't understand it. I mean, linguistically speaking, there's I think language is a bit of a puzzle, right, for everyone. The thing is, you also built a little bit of a profession on top of that. Isn't that a little bit fragile? Or not fragile, but doesn't it have too many parts? Because 6 languages, 6 cultures, I think it's also, at least it would take longer to actually build something instead of just having one language and one life and one job. How many Anastasias are there?
Oh, I don't know. They're running around all the time. No, I could, but I won't, because my personality is like that. I like multitasking. I like doing a lot of things at the same time. I get bored, and it's just the brain that works like that. I honestly tried. I get bored. I can't.
Going back to your bunny, you have 7 bunnies.
Yes, I do. I have different tokens of different things, and I do see these personalities, let's say, as like puzzle pieces.
Let's go back to the people, then we can wrap up, because I think we will get tired, and people listening to us will get tired. We can probably talk all night. We just need wine. How about helping others? How did you? Because it's not about just yourself, right?
No, absolutely. I, as a child, as far as I can remember, I love being around people, and this is again another full circle. Maybe this is just one big circle that's coming in itself, closing itself. Being around people was just what fed my soul a lot, and I wanted to give. I wanted to entertain. I wanted to do a lot of things with people. It was just like a whole holiday for me, like a little party every time there are people. It doesn't have to be a party, just how I felt about it. And I think...
Are you a Scorpion?
No.
Okay.
I'm a Virgo, I think.
That makes sense.
There are a lot of...
September child, like me.
I'm not following these things. I'm not...
But you're a September child.
No, I'm August.
Okay.
I'm very...
That's also
I'm very early Virgo.
Okay.
Yes. The people... As they started,
But is it the people or the party? These two are different things. Company.
Yes.
Company is actually a term, means a bunch of small number of people. Yeah. 1 or 2, not many. When it's many, it's a party.
It's a party. For me, it is a party.
So it's not actually necessarily individual people, but it's actually the gathering. I have a book called Gathering. I should give it to you. The Art of Gathering. I received it as a gift.
I think so. In the context of being a foreigner, having a party instead of a company is giving us more context. So it helped me to have much deeper understanding of the challenges, because while I do have some challenges that, let's say, my boyfriend or my other friends who are from, again, they have more privileged passports, they don't have. I am also privileged in many ways. I didn't have a lot of challenges that my friends from Iran had, for example.
It's a relative always. Yes.
Every time it's relative, and every time I'm learning a lot of things that humble me. And this is where I think the more the merrier, because not only for us who are already open and perceptive, it's always a shock to hear some stories of people that are going through big challenges.
So
like
basically, what I hear now is like those proverbial fish. Which one is that?
Going upstream?
Yes.
Or
So
be the
it's-
change you want to see in the world?
No, going up the stream.
Yeah.
So basically, the trout. You don't want to be in a happy, calm pond. You actually want to be always up the stream.
I don't even know why I'm doing this, but it just feels
this is
yeah.
your how is it called, quest
quest. Yeah.
to find out, and probably you have 7 quests. It sounds
At
like.
this point, I want to have at least 10.
Well, if you want to go to Japan, that's another quest for you.
It's gonna be a
So
big
isn't that what we are probably also motivated to? So going upstream, I think this is probably an important topic, because otherwise you wouldn't necessarily feel the necessity to help the others also doing that. Because if they are just, if you just wanted to, let's say, have material comfort and have a good job and get settled, you would have done it by now, and you wouldn't move from one language, from one culture to another.
No, for sure.
You're a culture jumper.
Maybe. Or maybe I have too high standards. I don't know. The thing is that I feel it a personal mission, my purpose at this point. Going through and in all the conversation we had, there was also a huge layer of personal development that had to happen for me, because I was going through a lot of things that really, they were just, they had me thinking, what the hell is going on, and why can't I like master it? Why am I here again in the same situation, or why am I still challenged by this or this issue? And I had to overcome it. I really had to use it as the stepping stones. And the way I see certain challenges that I went through, I want to share my story to help others. Sometimes we do it like in all these furnace
now you're
groups.
going Laura Palmer on me now. Jesus.
No, I want.
So you're just, what you're saying is that you're actually motivated to sacrifice yourself.
No.
Well, actually that's what the trouts are doing. When they face those bears, each time they jump, actually they are jumping into an unknown.
Yeah.
They're actually, sometimes they're jumping to the other side without knowing what is on the other side.
Yeah.
In many cases, up the stream, it's not easy.
You make me sound much braver than I am.
But you are. You are.
I don't know. I'm
The
very
Brave?
optimistic. I maybe it's the same, but I'm very optimistic.
No. Optimism is not enough. You need the courage to make a move. It's like even asking someone to go out, even asking. You're always in foreign water, so asking even a piece of bread, you need to, if you don't know the language, right? If you're a foreigner, you have to do some monkey business to be able to communicate what you need, right? Even that theatrical expression is a kind of you try to make it funny, you try to make it like, oh, I need it. So you are in an act of asking others, begging in a way. It's some kind of a begging, in that sense, a sacrifice, not in the, because you need to have the not the courage but humility to ask for help in some cases. But this is not just asking for help. You said it in a very different way, that you would in a way learn how to do it and then use it to help others?
I think the help others part actually happens on its own, either because people see what you do and they ask you, or because it's just so important to share with them that you just can't help it. You know, once you learn about certain documents or things like that, and you had to pay your money or you had to waste a lot of time trying to figure it out, then you're just like, hey guys, this is what happened.
So you're you're anti-Kafka. It's not optimism, this is anti-Kafka.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what do you mean?
Well, you know the story of
Yes.
Kafka, where there's this guy who's trying to get permission, documents, whatever, and he's a foreigner in the castle,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
So you're basically trying to help people in the castle.
Mm. I mean, we have to help each other. That's the thing. You get.
Not everyone thinks so.
Not everyone thinks so. That's true.
Once you've done it,
Mm-hmm.
well, in a way you pass the door, yeah? You don't have to
Yeah,
go
it's not
back
your
and help the
problem
others
anymore.
who didn't. So there must be some... and how do you translate this to some kind of a business? How do you also build an enterprise around that?
Yeah, so currently it is something that I do with my business partner and my great friend, and also my duo partner for our performances, Mira. She's absolutely amazing. And we have the Unusual International Academy. This is the format that we've chosen for two reasons. Academy meaning that it's not us only providing this service and doing things, even though we do, but we also want to support the experts and teachers being also internationals sometimes. So what we are doing, and this comes from, again, accumulated years between the two of us of living abroad in different places. She's also lived in Belgium somehow and other places too. She has experience. She's Bulgarian. She now lives here, but she also is on her own quest. Organizing events in general and then working with the community, we've realized there are two gaps, at least the ones that we see we can help fix. The first being not very broad selection of activities for foreigners, and which are not go to a bar and get to know other internationals like that. So some specific workshops or things on culture and personal development and activities, artistic and creative activities, things like that. And then the teachers, very often these are also foreigners, who are amazing at doing what they do. They are great at delivering the specific workshop, specific training, but they are not very skilled, or they don't have the time, or even they...
Which teachers, when you say teachers?
So experts, anyone who gives... They either have a specific service, for example, they're musicians, or they're language teachers, or they have a specific, very interesting skill. For example, I met the person who does color analysis and styling, and this is interesting for people of different walks of life. And then they are great at it, but because it's so boring to organize things, maybe they are a bit more creative. Organization, communication, emails, invoices, all of that kind of stuff, promotion, pricing your services. Oh my God, this is so scary. They don't like that. So Mira and I are filling the gap of the project managers and promoters or sales marketing people. This is our background. I ended up working in marketing, coming back to like one of the first questions. In marketing, primarily in the international community.
Well, it's a form. It requires a lot of many communication skills.
Yes. And events is.
But like you said, at the end, this is filling in gaps and compensating for what is missing. I think this is the top skill of any, not an expert, but
expert.
International is actually to understand where they can shine, and they can also. They need to be always aware of their shortcomings, and let's say not to fall into any traps, right? So you're always a bit watching out for what you don't know, what you cannot say. So in a way, you're always aware of the gaps, and actually spotting opportunities is a survival skill for any trout.
That's true. Also, I learned this from a lot of research I was exploring this, that migrants are very often entrepreneurs, either by necessity or because they see the gaps. They have the adaptability that is required to be an entrepreneur. And sometimes they're small entrepreneurs, sometimes it's solopreneurship, but it's always this movement, it's this relentlessness in a way.
I think for any entrepreneur out there, I think that you should try being a foreigner.
Yeah, it's very enriching.
Go to a culture that you go to Japan.
Go to Japan.
And look for opportunities there. Well, this sounds like we came to the end, at least. We managed.
Yeah.
I'm getting sleepy.
Okay.
It's like a very nice bedtime story. I was more interested in the discovering the childhood dreams. Somehow that's much more interesting, because whatever we do, half of what you have done, maybe I would do differently, but I've been through most of it. My coming to Bulgaria is for totally different reasons, and I don't really relate to your foreigner stories. I'm a, let's say, different kind of international in that sense.
And there are many.
Our journeys are quite different, and I never even thought of, let's say, being like a disadvantage or something like that, because I always had a job, I always had a scholarship. Let's say, my way of, let's say, being on top of this kind of situation is always be better than everybody else. So, but how is that as a coping mechanism? Meaning, I would never go to a place of disadvantage. So when I went to study abroad, I would go to the best schools. When I moved to Belgium, it was eventually led to marriage and staying there. And I always found the best way to get the things easier than not easier, but advantageous, if you like.
Yeah.
But so that's why when somebody looks at me and says, "Okay, this is a Turkish immigrant kind of imagination," for me, it just doesn't.
It's not your picture work. For sure.
No, it's not my own image.
Doesn't fit.
No, because like I said, the best way to beat them. The colonials, is to know things better than them. This is, I think, one of my motivations. If I want to understand the French chauvinism, I have to read everything that they wrote. If I want to beat the English in their game, I have to play better football than them. So in a way, for me, it's always like challenge the challenger or be better than the challenger. And basically, I'm not saying everybody can do that, but in a way, that was my way of. Let's say, as a child, I knew where I was going. And it was not a kind of a adventure or unbeaten path. It was more like, if you know everything, if you can do the best job, and in a way, you create your own privilege. Right?
Yeah.
This is, I think, that if you cannot create a privilege or advantage or superiority, you cannot make it. It's very simple.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yes. It's like you are like the freshwater trout, the one that has to. I think
I'm a shark.
Okay. I wanted to say, because if you're choosing the best conditions, that's what they do. They can't live in the murky water. They only need the pristine
No, I will
one.
not go where I will be hurt, if you see what I mean. So, but the thing is, you have to be the best in everything, so that you can actually go that way, if you see what I mean. So from scholarships to specialty, you mentioned specialty. For example, I think if I can just find a company in Australia, make them hire me, and just move. You see. But I wouldn't think, I have to move, and then, I just moved. What am I going to do now? For me, it's like, I would only go where there is the opportunity first, and everything falls to. I'm probably so privileged with my choices and moves that I cannot even imagine the tough journeys, you know. So this is why what's happening now in the world is really, really bothering me, because it's not like everyone can do it, right? There's no solution for everyone. There's no center. There's no process. There's no entry door. It's more like, oh, your country is falling apart. Who cares?
Yeah.
But this is, and it makes me ashamed to say that I had it easy, but I didn't have it easy. I just won every time the race, won every time the award.
Yeah.
But this is only good for, let's say, 1% of the people. The other 99% is. This is why I always wanted to help. I always wanted to come back to the community, go back to Amnesty International, go back to Habitat for Humanity. I always kind of use my professional skills to give back to humanity, but without necessarily helping others like me, because, you know, basically, if you guys are listening and if you're super skilled, don't just think that you're saved and you don't have to worry about anything else. There's so much you can do once you reach the point of. It's like the trout goes all the way up, and after that, it would be good to come back and show them. You see, this is the path, or next time we can take that path. So in a way, when you're a pioneer. By the way, this came from me being the first son of my both father's side and mother's side. So I ended up having, as a child, like 15, 20 cousins who are always younger than me, and I had to basically. There was no one to show me where to go, so I had to basically figure out on my own.
Yeah.
You see. So when you're first of the first, you have to go and discover everything, while the others, they would just say, oh, he has done that. Oh, we couldn't do that. But in a way, I think not having the choice, not having any guidance, in 99% of the case, it could lead to feeling lost. But in my case, it was, oh, okay, then I'll make the map. You know, I'll find a way. It was always. I think it's just that. You need, I think, some natural skills, some nurturing advantages or disadvantages. So finally, this is how the trout makes it into that culture, that the upriver that we talk about, because it's not easy in any culture. I actually kind of quit the Turkish culture because I find it very controlling, very perfectionist, very criticizing, you know. So in a way, I quit that one because that was not the culture that I would prefer. So I changed my waters, in fact. So for me, the world was another sweet water. That's a nice one. But then we ask ourselves the future. Where do you want to go? So if you think Japan is your future, I think you should.
It's just one of them. It's just something that speaks to me right now. But indeed, the way you said it about being a pioneer. I am the same, I can say, in my family, because my family moved before the war as well. They moved, but they moved to a culture that they kind of grew up with. Well, yeah, for me it was something completely different. Now my brother, with his my brother just got Argentinian citizenship because he became a father of a girl born.
He went further away from.
Yeah, his wife, they moved to Argentina to give birth, and yeah, my niece is Argentinian.
Why Japan? Come on, go to Argentina.
Oh, I will go there, but I don't know if it's for me. I have to see. That's what I'm saying.
Do you dance?
Yes.
It is for you.
This
is how I imagine them. You know that they're dancing
sure.
people.
They're more into football. According to my brother, they are much more into football.
Maybe he is into.
He's
man,
absolutely
maybe.
obsessed. He actually has a channel in Spanish now that is growing. He just goes to explore the Argentinian football and reports back, and they love it.
This generation is too lazy.
No, my brother is extremely hardworking. Actually, I'm super proud of him. He's younger, and
So
Yeah.
finally,
Yes.
we are not migrants. We are pioneers.
Yeah, explorers. I
Which
love
is,
that.
by the way, this is what most people don't get about the American dream. The American dream is built by people like Lewis and Clark, who are pioneers, and they would basically go west, where go west.
Up the